Forgive me, Karanos, for I have sinned. I I added a color to a deck list that someone sent me. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. And today we're going to be playing with David's Hammertime deck list. When David sent me the deck list, they were kind of uncomfortable with where the sideboard was at. So this was the initial deck list, and the discussion of this will kind of lead to why I've done what I've done to this deck list, which may or may not be a good idea. I'm going to admit up front that I might have made this deck worse, but I have a really good idea. So here we go. The core of this deck list is, of course, Colossus Hammer, and our goal is to put this into play and then attach it for free somehow. Be that off of a Sigarda's Aid, and then we can even do it at instant speed, or something like a Puresteel Paladin that allows us to ignore the cost. So that's the core of the deck. But when David built the sideboard, you know, it contains Mana Tithe, and Mana Tithe is not exactly a good Magic the Gathering card. You don't see this in very many lists. The general idea is that this deck list is so low to the ground and is trying to end the game so quickly that having a versatile disruption card is reasonable. And like, this is something that you can play in a wide variety of instances. Like, this can be your stopgap versus a combo deck to buy you just enough time to try to get an aggro kill. But like, when I look at this sideboard, I see weak effect, slow effect. If you're playing Torpor Orb rather than progressing your own game when your curve is this low, like, that's very slow. Trailblazer's Torch is something for a control matchup, but again is very slow. And like, overall, I'm just not excited with this. So while I thought the general core of the main deck was absolutely fine, like, we've got to turn this sideboard into something that feels more impactful. And my first thought was replacing Mana Tithe with Surge of Salvation. This is something that sees play in the modern versions of the deck, and I thought that this was perfectly reasonable, and you also get some splash damage versus combo like you do with Mana Tithe. But when I started thinking about the metagame, I'm not really thinking about combo right now. Like, so much of the metagame, especially in paper Magic, like with what we're seeing in the Eternal Weekend results, is like a combination of Grixis Delver, Rug Delver, and various 3 to 5 color control deck lists. And the Surge of Salvation is still perfectly good there and protects your hammers, but there's a card that just hit Magic Online that is starting to like see some 5-0 results that I thought might actually be better. Enter Legolas's Quick Reflexes, and this has split second. So unlike the other cards that I've talked about already, this one gets to just say no, period, and always work. Now this one does target a creature specifically, so you can't use it to, say, protect your hammer against a prismatic ending. But you get to untap your creature if it's tapped, and until end of turn, it gains hexproof, reach, and whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals damage equal to its power to up to one target creature. So now, your creatures that have a hammer on them can not only like be protected from removal, but they can also turn into a removal spell with split second. By gaining reach, you also gain the ability to like block that Murktide region that is going to kill you on the backswing. And like, your idiot probably has +10/+10 from the hammer and is living through that Murktide hit. And I think being good against such a wide range of blue decks while also being a combat trick versus fair decks leaves this card in a really unique position to be like exactly what this deck wants. It's a less embarrassing card than Mana Tithe while also being very flexible. So here's what I ended up coming to. I don't think I changed any of the main deck slots other than the mana base. A quick note on what might be one of the more questionable choices. I'm actually playing a couple of Razorverge Thickets just over fetch lands. I was worried that if I play too many fetch lands, I literally run out of fetchables because I only wanted to have Savannah and probably one plains in this mana base. And, like, since we do just have some disappearing lands in the form of Urza Saga, it's not like when we hit the end game that we're always just going to control 4 or more lands anyway. So the downside of this is largely going to be mitigated, not fully, but largely mitigated. And since we don't necessarily need the quick reflexes on turn 1 or 2, like we're looking for it in the mid game when we are getting into that grind, I think we're going to end up having enough green sources for this to be viable. I don't want to go so deep as to play green artifact lands because like we do have white cards, but adding the green means eliminating the wastelands from the deck, which I am a bit of a mana-based purist. Like I want to consistently cast my spells more so than have extra utility in my lands. So I'm actually going to end up with more white sources than the original build. So I'll actually be better at casting my spells despite splashing a color, although I will be slightly more vulnerable to Wasteland and Blood Moon type effects. So yeah, let's see if we can hammer some people. We've got some tutors for it. We have some alternative win conditions that we can go and put in with Stoneforge Mystic. I'm unsure if Sword of Fire and Ice is going to pull its weight in a world full of Orcish Bowmasters, but I'm willing to give it a try. Remember, if you end up wanting to try out this deck list, I've got a link to moxfield.com in the video description. And if you need to buy any of these cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. Let's battle. Today's video is sponsored by a small business, All Trades Media LLC, who makes some absolutely awesome token packs. Honestly, when you're playing webcam Magic, sometimes it's a little bit hard to have everything covered, but they've got you covered from Ape all the way to copies of Wishclaw Talisman. Their Etsy shop will have these token packs in both foil and non-foil, and you can use promo code ThrabenU to save 25% on your orders over $20. Also, check out ThrabenU on Twitter because I'll be giving away a set of these tokens today. All right, this hand doesn't really do anything here. We're gonna mulligan. We're trying to do something more aggressive than that. This is fine. I'll keep this on a mulligan. The Mox Opal is like almost good. I just have 2 mana on turn 2 most of the time anyway. Thinking of which of these I want to throw back. I think the Mox Opal. I think it's... I think I'm accepting that I probably am settling in for a mid-range game this time around. Like, we don't have Caldra in game 1, since we're trying to fit in the, like, Sword of Fire and Ice style stuff. I wish I had the Caldra in this specific spot. We Delverin. I'm probably just jamming swords into Delver here. Off basic planes. We are not looking for more hammers right now. Oh, so it just worked. That's great. Opponent just fully telegraphed that they don't have any counter magic in their hand. That means that I can just jam turn 2 Stoneforge most of the time and have it work out, which feels good. That bauble targets themselves, so they know what to do with their fetch land. And they don't like it. Grixis Delver specifically. The opponent has drawn 2 random cards. I think we're still just jamming. Because, like, I can get this, it can get bolted or whatever, and then I can just cast the Nettle Cyst next turn. Bowmaster is fine. Obviously disincentivizes me from getting a Sword of Fire and Ice. And one of the 2 unknown cards was a Daze. I think I'm going to go ahead and play out the Ornithopter now. With the reason being that I want to be able to attack with it with Colossus Hammer next turn. if I draw a way to equip that. No shuffle off that ponder. We'll take the block. My opponent can attack in with both of those reasonably. Oh, hey. I'm rewarded for the thing that I did last turn. My opponent also might die for, yep. My opponent is telegraphing that they don't have counterspells, meaning I can just play out the second one of these. And my opponent dies for attacking with both of these. And also, like, they die for, like, auto-yielding through the stuff that I'm doing. So that loss is doubly on them. So kind of immediately, we're going to board this in and see if this is good. Don't think I like Sword of Fire and Ice versus the Bowmaster deck. I will probably just replace that with Cauldron Complete. And, like, we've got other things we can think about. I don't think this is going to be a leyline matchup. I think I can trim those counters reasonably. Go down on Retrofitter Foundry. Seems like that's reasonable. Like, that's probably expendable. This is probably expendable. Then I just decide if I want Pithing Needle for Wasteland. It helps with both my colors and Urza Saga. So I think so, but I don't think I get room for this. Go down 2 Foundries. Not 100% sure that's correct. That is multiple copies of a card that I want to test, but hand's not exactly strong. You think I have to mulligan this one? Like, one of these being something else probably makes the hand keepable, but, like, I don't quite have Metalcraft to, like, just start Urza Saga-ing immediately. Well, this is a little awkward, folks. It's a little awkward. I think it's a keep, but it's a little awkward. I believe the Puresteel Paladin goes back here, and I'm mostly hoping that my opponent does not have the exact card Daze or the exact card Meltdown. No immediate bauble targeting themselves. Is this a Delver then? This is a Delver then. Okay, they target themselves, and they do this so that they have a better feeling for how to stack the Delver trigger. Alright, Ancient Den. Ornithopter. Opponent does not have interaction based on the speed that things are resolving. So given that, I can probably just jam Stoneforge Mystic as a tutor here. I'm not going to be playing around Wasteland the way that I considered, but, like, my opponent is just giving me so much free information about what's in their hand that I don't think I can give that up. Alright, so their top card is not an instant or sorcery, so they get a redraw for Delver. That's the 2-mana one, right? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, probably old news by the time you're seeing this video, but relatively new tech as of the time of this. This saw some play in some of the Eternal Weekend lists. Like, it's quite good. My opponent could take out this and this turn. Although they basically lose the game if I draw a land. Yep. As expected. We'll take 3 damage. Hey, it's a land. So let's see if they have a counterspell. They have a counterspell this time, or at least potentially do, because they're not F6ing. So I think I offer them a Pithing Needle as a dazable card. Now they're F6ing. We're just going to go ahead and shut off the Wasteland, and I'll Colossus Hammer next turn. And I'm now working towards a second Colossus Hammer as well. For sure. That was a fast shuffle. And Murktide region, it looks like. That's fine. I'm potentially on track to just beat this. Sure. I think I'm on track to just win with Hammer. Like, I just play this, equip it, attack for 10. My opponent can crack me back if they want, and then I just get like a Shadow Spear and equip it next turn to get the trample that I need. Meltdown is currently the thing that beats me. Opponent gets a couple looks at one. Alright, another cantrip. Alright, Wasteland's fine. We Pithing Needled. Opponents apparently got something else, because they are dead on board. Brazen Borrower makes sense. Would be one of those times where I would have loved to draw a Legolas's quick reflexes. I think I'm just getting a Retrofitter Foundry. I think that's just going to make the most sense here, rather than the Shadow Spear, because we're assuming that my opponent has Brazen Borrower. It's not Orcish Bowmasters because the black isn't held up. So let's cast this. Alright, it sat on the stack for a while, but did resolve. Alright. Here we go. So it's got to be like a Brazen Borrower or Hurkyl's Recall. Please take game actions. I've been sitting here for so long. Alright. Ornithopter gets to attack. It is Petty Theft. Sure. In the second main phase, I will recast an Ornithopter. It resolves. Hit the mouse button. Let's go. Alright, so my opponent can attack me. I can block, make a 4/4. Or my opponent can time out. Like, either way is fine. Alright, my opponent eventually decides to go ahead and attack on in. So we will block the Murktide, sacrifice the Ornithopter to make a 4/4. Take 3. We're dead to a Lightning Bolt. And they did have the Lightning Bolt. Unfortunate. Alright, quick look here. I think I mostly like how we've boarded. I maybe win that one if I just go for the Colossus Hammer a turn earlier. But given my opponent's priority passes, I was relatively sure that they had interaction. Like, just based on the patterns from the previous game. I don't think we have enough mana to keep this hand. One mana source is just not going to do it here. This is slow but fine. The Mox Opal does not do a lot right now other than contribute to Metalcraft in the future. I think I'm just throwing this back. It's not like the second Puresteel Paladin is great or anything. Alright, it's resolved. Alright, here we go. Dragon Rage Channeler. Am I jamming Stoneforge into Daze? Let's cast an Ornithopter as a bait spell. The opponent's pausing, so they might have something, so I'll cast a Puresteel this turn. Alright. Let's jam a Puresteel Paladin. We can Stoneforge next turn. Wasteland's good. Takes me off of Stoneforge in the short term. We can go down the Puresteel Paladin beats plan if we have to. We'll just keep bashing for 2 until that stops being a thing that makes sense. 17. Sure. Not having the green mana here is a little bit of a pain, because that would have been a very good Legolas's quick reflexes. Although honestly, I would have used it earlier in the turn as a removal spell on the Dragon Rage Channeler. Alright, this bauble targets me. Alright, sure. That's fine. Instant is already in there. They don't know their top card from bauble. I'll take the block. I think my opponent just like punts by playing the Delver pre-combat, right? Like if they attack with this prior to playing the Delver, I never block because it just represents an Orcish Bowmaster's blowout. I'm going to be so sad if I lose to this player. Sure. Alright. So notably, my opponent knows about this Legolas's quick reflexes. Alright, we're going deeper for Dragon's Rage Channeler. And we always opt to, well, I guess Bowmasters is up this time. Can I afford to care? Like, say my next card is Hammer, Opponent has 2 guaranteed jump blocks if they do have the Bowmasters. My position may be so bad that I just try to save the 1 point of damage despite the risk attached to it. Like, Hammer is one of my better top decks, and I don't even know if that's good enough. Because I probably just eat 6 damage next turn. Yeah, I think my position is bad enough that I just take the block. Alright, take 1. There is no Bowmaster. Alright, that is an Ancient Den. I think the pace of the game is such that I have to play my better card here.
Alright. Looks like opponent has days or something.
Yup. Alright. Life's bad. Like, this Delver should always flip. Flips off a daze. Meltdown is insult to injury here. And now I'm on a 3-turn clock, meaning I get 2 more turns. I think, yeah, even with optimal draws, I now don't have outs. Alright, that's frustrating. I think my opponent didn't play well and made a lot of errors, but I didn't get to cast spells, so we lost. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I personally keep all of my deck lists for every format on this site. I love that I can go and sort them by types and tags if I need to. There's a lot of different viewing options. It can give you some math about your mana symbol, your curve, and you can even playtest and do sample opening hands with it. Check this site out if you haven't before. It's awesome. All right, we've got like just pieces of the deck that don't line up with each other here. I'm gonna mulligan this one. All right, I'll keep this. I'm probably just going to generically throw back the Swords to Plowshares, which is a situational card here. I think I want access to this Mox Opal. I think the Metalcraft is potentially going to matter. Ooh. Plan has changed a bit. Has it, though? Maybe it hasn't. So I always cast this Stoneforge Mystic. Now, I can still get a hammer. That's still a fine thing to do. The Nettle Cyst counts artifacts and enchantments. But, like, getting a hammer is just really bad if my opponent has, like, a Fury or Solitude or whatever. So I think I'm just going to get something safer. And we play out the Mox Opal to respect another Chalice on 0. Alright, so now we get to see what color my opponent is. It's presumably red or red-white, but, you know. No imprint on Chrome Box. Oh. Alright, I see where this is going. Broadside. Yeah, it's broadside, so they're gonna chuck either a Chrome Mox or a Chalice on 0 at the Stoneforge Mystic. That's fine. So if I play Nettle Cyst, it's a 3/3. That's currently fine. The Sigarda's Aid doesn't really do anything here. I kind of hope my opponent throws the Chalice on 0 at me to open up my Ornithopter. This has Menace, so I can't actually block it. Okay, yep, they throw the Chalice on 0 at me. Ornithopter opens back up, which is actually really good. Let's see how bad the rest of this turn is. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Hello. No, Chalice is on 1 still. Okay. So do this. This grows to a 4/4. God, this card is fucking terrifying. Alright. I think I'm into this. Alright, my opponent doesn't block. Don't have a basic land to search for, because I splashed. Then we go 2 mana for Puresteel Paladin. And now I can move this somewhere else to present better blocks. And fuck this broadside. It's so good. Like, my opponent can attack with both Flaying the Caves of Chaos Adventure or wherever I move this equipment to and, like, end up ahead. I think this is the way I'm supposed to do this. It's, like, weird, though. Because they could end up in a situation where they fling the Chalice instead.
remove the Puresteel.
I don't know, if they fling the Chalice, I just get a Colossus Hammer and do my thing. Depending on when I post this video, this is either right before or right after I play a league featuring, or rather 2 leagues featuring this card. It's as good as you think it is. Alright, now what the fuck am I supposed to do? I don't think I can block on both. I don't know, maybe I can block on both. No, I can't block on both because this asshole has menace. Fuck, it's so good. Combat damage goes here. I think this card is just going to bury me if I keep it alive. My opponent just has like such good board control right now with the broadside. And I need them to not have that board control. Alright, so we do go to combat damage. And is Archon getting scaled up? Archon is getting scaled up. Chalice is still in play. This is a 4-5 now. Situation not ideal. So I think I need to move this here. So now this can block Caves of Chaos Adventurer comfortably. Ornithopter can chump Archon, and I just have to hope my opponent does not have another play. That's a fine play on their end. Jump is necessary or I die. Another Archon. That gets countered by Chalice. So we are dead in the air. Damn. Broadside's so good. Alright, what do I want here? I probably want these. Like, legit, this stopping a broadside trigger or killing a broadside is really strong. I think I'm going to replace Cranial Plating with Caldra. I think that haste matters a lot. Or Nettlecyst with Caldra. I don't know, Nettlecyst is just another big booty thing that I can draw. I want a Pithing Needle for broadside. Man, it's wild that I care so much about that card. But I sure as fuck do. Or to Fire and Ice too slow, despite giving protection from their deck. God, feels like yes. Then I can, like, go down a Foundry or 2. Actually, Steel Shaper's Gift is, like, not the best versus Chalice either. I guess I'm keeping 1/1-drop either way. Keep a Tutor for Hammer. I have 2 lands. I have a Stoneforge Mystic. I have a Quick Reflexes as a removal spell. I'm basically dead to a Blood Moon effect. I say basically because I do have Mox Opal. Isn't as fast of a hand as I would like. It's also bad versus a removal spell. I think I try to do better on the play. Yeah, this qualifies. We'll keep this. Throw a land back into the deck. And, like, we still have a fast Stoneforge, but now we have a piece of removal. That's not situational and dependent on our creature still being alive. Okay, the removal's gone. Yep. Sure. Alright. Damn you, Chalice. So we're Stoneforging. I suppose I will pick up Caldra for flexibility. There's a good chance that this gets stranded in my hand, but the times where it doesn't, it's damn good. Sure. Feels like Caves of Chaos Adventurer is about to happen. Seasoned Dungeoneer is about to happen. So the good news is I can contest that. Bad news is I don't have another basic planes. So we're going to go ahead and Caldra here. I will not do that. We'll bash in for 5 and take the initiative. Nothing to find past turn. So the whole plan here is... Yeah, I assume that Chromox is going to graveyard. The plan involves putting Colossus Hammer onto this Caldra and just killing my opponent. We now know that my opponent has white, so like Solitude and their ilk are outs. I think that's fine. Send him. Let's go for it. Some portion of the time. This just kills my opponent right now. And it looks like this is one of those cases. Fantastic. So now that I know my opponent is on red-white, how many of these broadsides do I think they're actually running? And do I want some number of March of Otherworldly Light as an answer to chalices when I'm on the draw? Probably. Like, pull one of those. This is still removal. I think I'm probably supposed to pull one on the draw. I don't think this matchup's super favorable for me. My opponent's deck is as fast as, if not faster than my deck, and Chalice is very good at slowing me down. Blood Moon is good against what I'm doing as well. Oh, this is almost great. This is almost great. I am any creature away from this hand being very strong. But I don't think I can take that risk. I might have to keep this one. But I'm so dead to Chalice if I do. I don't really want to be in the control role. Okay. Okay, that's not a soul land. That's good news for me. I think I just immediately thin a land out of the deck. And we are going to preemptively put this on broadside. I just don't want to... I don't want to have to remove that card. Sure. Trinisphere is fine. I do have the third land drop. So I'm actually going to play a Savannah here and pass. I would love for my opponent to waste a turn playing Magus of the Moon rather than something that hits harder. That I don't like, because I can't just immediately remove that with swords because of Trinisphere. I have to remove it in the next turn cycle. What are you doing? Oh, Spirit Guide too. Fuck. Yeah, that's real bad. So, now I have to ask myself, like, is the way that I win this game by removing my opponent's creatures or by playing Stoneforge Mystic and getting a Caldra? I probably have to remove the Seasoned Dungeoneer. It just represents too much damage. I'm going to see if my opponent forges onto it. I don't think they are supposed to do that after I hold up this mana, but that, like, takes pressure off of my life total from Forge and Trap, which is nice. I think we're fine this game without Trinisphere. Like, without the Trinisphere, I just, like, sword both of these on my opponent's turn and then play Stoneforge Mystic on my own turn. And then it's just, like, whatever they find off the scry that's a potential problem. That is probably the KO. Like, now I don't get Stoneforges or my Puresteel Paladins. Yeah. So Fable of the Mirror Breaker is about to happen. I'm locked out of 2 drops. I can use a whole turn cycle to remove Reflection of Kiki Jiki. Like, my opponent's just working towards Throne of the Dead 3, and I'm not going to be able to check that. I think this is the point where I can safely say that we've lost this one. GG's. Alright. With Sigarda's Aid on turn 1 and 2 hammers in hand, this is pretty ideal. This is the hand where I will just get, like, turn 1 by Reanimator and not get to do my thing. Because that's how karma works. Alright, my opponent kept on 6. Here we go. No. 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 Okay, that's fine. Whatever you're about to do is fine. I just was going to lose my shit if just I got this hand denied by a Chalice on 1. Alright. We play Sigarda's Aid. I think I only play 1 Ornithopter, because if I play both out and both die to Fury, it's brutal. Like, even if it slows me down a bit, I think I'm supposed to do this. So the next thing we need to learn is whether my opponent is mono red or red white. We have learned that. So if I go all in next turn, a Solitude can get me. I don't think I'm not going all in, though. Like, I think giving my opponent more time here is scary, because I don't think this matchup is good. So I think if we're winning early-ish on in the match. Battle is fine. Is it Archon? It's Archon, so I can't kill my opponent in this turn cycle. If I play Urza Saga, it makes Blood Moon significantly better. I don't think I care. So we'll attack with an Ornithopter, see if my opponent wants to block. They don't. We'll give them the hammer. Hit my opponent for half of their life total. I don't get another spell. And my opponent is in a situation where they can kind of like indefinitely make blockers for this creature. So the reason like I want to play an Urza Saga is to work towards a Shadow Spear trample situation. All right, what do we got going on here? They're going to lose a land, presumably to play an initiative creature. All right, there's a Seasoned Dungeoneer. All right, and they're going to hold back the Shaman token to block with. That's reasonable. That's an interesting draw. So I attack. My opponent blocks with Goblin Shaman. I hold Swords to Plowshares until my opponent uses Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. And that probably leads to my win the highest percentage of the time. I could just remove Reflection of Kiki-Jiki right now, but I think I want to play a second Ornithopter as my spell for this turn cycle. This is a little greedy on my end, but I think it's good. Yep. All right, so just that crashes on in. Junking a Chrome Mox. Oh, they're thinking about it. I guess they are light on mana. Oh, no, they are going to junk that. That's fine. All right, I am at 10. That's my opponent's one spell for this turn. That's fine. Caracas is fine. I'm thinking about like whether or not I want to hammer. I think it's okay to hammer, but I hammer right here, not in end step. I'll throw this here. Okay. So I go ahead and float a mana with this one on 3 counters. I search up a Shadow Spear and equip that to one of these Ornithopters. Now we should, I think, be good. So we'll send them. Opponent targets the Seasoned Dungeoneer. This can trap me. This is just going to create something with 4 toughness. So this blocks here as a chump. This blocks here, and then my one spell is Colossus Hammer to trample over for lethal. This is all fine. All right. I lose 5 life. I guess alternatively, I just Swords Archon and then Colossus Hammer, and that is also lethal. Is that better? Puts my opponent to 12. Don't think that life difference matters. Then we hammer, and we get there. Very happy to win game 1. I think this matchup is quite tough. So many 1-drops. Not gonna Pithing Needle for Broadside immediately, I don't think. And we'll see whether or not I'm doing these. So let's work on going down some 1-drops in case I do get chaliced. Until I see Broadside, I think I only want a couple of these. Like, they still run into Chalice of the Void. Well, I can play turn 1 Urza Saga and Shadow Spear. But if I do that, I'm not actually working towards turn 2 Puresteel Paladin. It would be at a turn 3 Puresteel Paladin. Equip Shadow Spear and hammer at that time. I don't think this works. This one's at least good if I top deck a hammer or Stoneforge. I maybe have to play Urza Saga on turn 1 to start going towards hammer. Really bad versus Blood Moon. Pretty bad versus Chalice. Really? Alright, sure. Alright, so they are kind of all in on a Fable. Really easy for me to lose to a second Blood Moon. This is a terrible spot. So, like, I can work towards Hammer, or I can resolve this around Chalice. This is worse against Blood Moon effects. This is worse versus Chalice effects. Regardless, I always play this. Ugh. I think that's correct. It just doesn't feel good. Like, especially since my opponent gets lootings towards Blood Moon. But I think I just have to move towards something that has the possibility of killing my opponent. Yep. I go to 18. It is a Magus of the Moon. So we're pretty much dead to that since I didn't go for basic plains Sigarda's Aid last turn. I don't think I regret it, but it beats us. Like, I can go for the Sigarda's Aid, but, like, unless I top deck a Hammer or a Stoneforge, like, this isn't going to be good enough to beat the stuff that my opponent plays on its own. Top deck the Stoneforge, Kappa. Alright. We're good here. Next game. I think I'm going to go down one of these and play this Paradise Mantle to help with Blood Moon effects. Alright. No. Just no. Basic Plains, Sigarda's Aid, Mox Opal. Man, this one's awkward. It's fine if I top deck a Mana Source. Reluctant Keep, I think. I think I get rid of the white card here, although that's unclear. My opponent really tanked on their mulligan to 5. Their hand might have some problem in it. What their hand has is largely irrelevant to us, if I'm being honest. Like, we're at the mercy of our own deck here. Chalice is scary for me. Blood Moon is annoying, but fine. Broadside would be annoying. An initiative creature would be a little rough. It is an initiative creature. I think I'm 100% fine if I draw a land. I drew a 3-drop. Pass turn. I don't think I am supposed to intend on playing out 2 copies of Colossus Hammer to mana fix for Mox Opal. Like, if I've still got the Puresteel Paladin in hand, it's different. Cavernous Souls, the reveal. Alright, opponent's going for a 4-drop. That's not great. I mean, I guess it could be a 3-drop with floating mana. It's a Fable. Alright, I draw a land. I have a very real chance at winning this then. Yes. Shadow Spear? Feels like Shadow Spear. I just go like Hammer, Hammer, Shadow Spear. Gain 21. 22. How much damage am I taking on my turn? 5, 10, 12. Alright. Guess don't chalice me. Discarding 2 lands. 7 incoming damage. Maybe 8. That'd do a decent number of things. Solitude. Well, I guess it's not in their hand right now. Because it's on top of their library right now due to how that card works. But we're at 1. Don't do it. Don't chalice me. Fuck, that's just as bad. Swords to Plowshares. Damn it. Yeah, Archon does it. Unless my opponent messes up. Fuck, no. The fucking land enters tap too. God damn it. No! Alright. So close. GG's. So this hand has access to a lot of hammers, but not really a reasonable plan for what to do with them. Whereas this hand has the wrong side of the equation, again, with ways to do things with hammers, but no hammers. Like, this is a pretty embarrassing hand by legacy power level standards. I can keep and pray in my deck with no cantrip manipulation, or I can just go to 5, which is what I think I'm supposed to do. Easily best hand of the bunch. Nettlecyst is too expensive here. And I think Shadow Spear goes back into the deck. All right. That's a scary land. Okay, that could have been worse. I mean, it's still bad, but it's not just like Dark Ritual Entomb reanimate immediately or anything. I think I take the Sigarda's Aid if I'm the opponent. They disagree? No, I see. Illusion of choice. So my hand doesn't do anything anymore. And it was already pretty bad on a mull to 5. Play this. Play this. And I think I am supposed to put this into play, because there's a huge chance that this grief just gets like reanimated on my opponent's turn, and I don't want to leave a card in hand for that to hit when so frequently I can just play the rest of the game playing whatever my top deck is and never exposing myself to discard. I think my opponent is the mono black scam reanimator hybrid deck that has been running around, which I have not been impressed by from the other side of the table. But my deck isn't impressing me from this side of the table, so, you know. What about this one? Do I play this hammer out? Honestly, yeah, like, cranial plating is probably the way that I win this game. At this point, I don't think I have to hold a hammer. It's like, what does opponent have? They probably would have played out a Bowmasters to start attacking. They would have played out most things that aren't discard-based. Saga's scary. I can play damn near everything yeah. Okay. That's actively good. That gives me bodies. Bodies plus cranial plating is real good. And we'll just kind of see where the rest of this goes. This first Urza Saga token is a 1/1. So don't think I like play and equip at sorcery speed. I think I hold up swords. Yep. I guess I can swords this now. I guess it's just the same to do it with the Urza Saga activation on this stack, and it's slightly better versus like Bowmasters coming in at end of turn or something. Yep. Get out 1/1. And then I will make a creature here. Pithing Needle has a lot of targets. In my mind, the Retrofitter Foundry is one of the scarier things on the board. Oh, but nothing got needled. That's great for me. Puresteel Paladin becomes an absolutely insane draw. Okay. Dark Ritual. Currency Converter. Junking a Thoughtseize that we played around. Bowmasters is fine. Like, we're just intending on making a steady stream of tokens. Yep. I'll play that out. We'll Retrofitter Foundry on my opponent's turn. And we're one card away from just killing my opponent. Alright, opponent continuing to loot here with Currency Converter. Yeah, there's Reanimate. That was expected. Okay, yep. Opponent holding some bodies back in fear of the just ungodly amount of damage that I am capable of doing. And I respect that. Let's make my first 1/1 Death Machine here. Another Sigarda's Aid doesn't really do anything. I am fine with leaving that in hand. I think we'll just equip this and force a block from my opponent. Like, this is 8 damage. I don't think you just take that. Yep. And we're fine with the trade here. We'll just make another token. I don't think I need to turn that into a flyer. My opponent is not... Rather, my opponent does not have a reasonable clock. Like, when I played against this deck previously, it was just, like, glacially slow. It's not very good at doing the Reanimator thing. Like, I probably say as they, like, cast Reanimate. But, like, this is turn 8, and my opponent is doing the first thing this game that, like, actually scares me. And I just don't like how slow this deck is. And I think some of the flex slots are really bad. Archon. So if they take Archon, this is gone, and that is gone. I hate the way this works on Magic Online. in terms of user friendliness. Okay. Sure. All right. I'll take that damage. My opponent's got an edict for this token that I'm about to make, which I assume that they will just fire off immediately and not give me time to like respond later and make a second one. Yup. Well, I can kill that fucking Atraxa, that's for sure. Alright. We're gonna suit this bad boy up. We have a 28 power creature. No haste, unfortunately. Doesn't do me any good to hold up this mana. We're not dead to an Atraxa attack. With a Shadow Spear, I still have lethal through Atraxa. Opponent's not quite too hard casting Archon mana. Alright, it's going to the bin. Alright, one of the two unknown cards was an Animate Dead. Or I guess that's not fair, there might have been some things left over in hand. This is 10 damage, puts me at 2. Don't think I have outs from here, because I don't have haste things other than Caldra. Dead. Okay. Pithing Needle for Currency Converter is good. Leyline is good. Tormod's Crypt is good. Caldra, I think, should just be in the main deck. Nettle Cyst out. I just want to kill my opponent. Like, their deck is very slow on average. I think despite the fact that, like, Retrofitter Foundry and Shadow Spear have text, don't know that I want them. Maybe I need the Shadow Spear for the trample. Like, opponent is an Orcish Bowmaster's deck still. It's probably not necessary, especially if I'm bringing in better targets. From here, I kind of want to cut these. Might be better to cut these than just, like, rely a little bit harder on Sigarda's aid. But maybe I can't ever cut Puresteel Paladin. And I just get rid of the tutor because it's slow. This hand is just like, can I beat my opponent to death with a pair of 4/4s before their deck does anything? And this may be me not respecting their deck enough, but I kind of think yes. I'm keeping this since Shadow Spear and Puresteel Paladin are such good draws. Like Shadow Spear, or sorry, not Shadow Spear, Sigarda's Aid, Puresteel Paladin, Stoneforge Mystic all kind of make this hand just pop off. And we got some birds. All right, what do we got? Rude. Now I only have 1/4/4 to murder my opponent with. All right. Oh, that's real bad for me. I think I hold the Colossus Hammer as the board currently stands. This Pithing Needle might just win my opponent the game. Obvious statement is obvious, but like 2 4/4s is very different from 1 4/4. Like 1 Shouldered's Edict gets rid of the aggression that my hand has to offer. I get punished for not playing this out, but like Sigarda's Aid is currently such a good draw that I don't think I am supposed to. Can make an argument for fetch to thin, I guess. But I'm going to try to fetch at some point when my opponent is tapped out. Like, it would not be crazy person talk for them to have Dark Ritual Opposition Agent as a thing their deck is capable of doing. That's fine. Alright, they do have some red. Got another Savannah. Reanimate is not actually that great of a card anymore. Like, losing 6 life to bring this into play is a little rough. That is Shadow, that doesn't block. Sure. Thank you, deck. Very cool. Liliana is annoying here. I think this is the point where I just concede and start playing the next round. Like, we're 0-4. I would like this deck to do something. I feel like I'm just losing to everything. Alright, what are we looking at here? Ancient Den, Ornithopter, Mox Opal, Metalcraft is on, play Sigarda's Aid and Retrofitter Foundry. Have a 4/4 immediately. with the ability to make more bodies, the ability to top deck a hammer and a sword. This isn't how I want my hands to be drawn up, but sure. We're so fucking bad against Ancient Tomb decks. Just absolutely wretchedly bad versus these Chalice of the Void decks. I've learned that lesson this league. Alright, Retrofitter, white mana, Sigarda's Aid, pass. And then I get to decide whether or not I want a flyer with Sword of Fire and Ice. Okay, that's fine. That was your draw this turn. Okay. So do I want flyer with Sword of Fire and Ice that automatically equips, or do I want a 4/4 with Sword of Fire and Ice that can be blocked later? It's a really important decision. I think I'm going to sit here for a minute and actually just think about it. I'd like to put one win on the board today. I think since my opponent has Ancient Tomb, I do just do the thing that produces the largest amount of power immediately. So we sword equip, and this is just 8 damage this turn, putting my opponent to 10. We have 3 lands left. Not where I want to be, but this is theoretical lethal next turn unless my opponent is playing white and can remove this. I don't know, maybe opponent's hand was a mulligan. Like, this was presumably their turn to draw, and their best thing to do when they were behind on board already was play Chalice. Like, I get it. It plays around Hammer, but I don't know, I guess like not every hand just has like broadside fling, kill your stuff. Don't know whether opponent is on a red or red-white. I want this, or like Chalices when I'm on the draw. I want this. Maybe I've been overboarding for this sort of matchup. Perennial Plating is really good with the Ornithopters. Kind of medium otherwise. Maybe if I board in Cauldron, I can board this out. I do really like this as a castable card, but I don't know. I just don't feel like I've got the approach for this matchup figured out. This hand doesn't really do anything. Ship that. Largely looks like the same hand I was just looking at. Land, Foundry, Opal. Metalcraft is not on. I can at least keep some interaction. I'm close to Metalcraft for if I get Blood Mooned on turn 1. I'm really unhappy about this. I think I keep it anyway. Alright. What's the damage? Fury is going. Magus. Okay. That's fine. Fuck! It's not fine. Alright. Well. And note here that this can reduce by colorless, but it's not a free card like Solitude is. Oh god, that's just a fucking clock. Yeah. That's a cruel joke. Next game. Yep. Yep. Like, do I fucking mana tithe this player when I'm on the play? Like, non-ironically? Just prepare to get got by a spirit guide every time that I do that. No. So this has Aid and Hammer, no second mana source, no smaller creature to put in. I think I have to say no to this. Alright. Den, Ornithopter, Opal, Metalcraft is on. Play a land, play Stoneforge Mystic on turn 1. Yes. Get rid of Urza Saga. It's just like the worst versus Blood Moon. Puresteel Paladin as plan B. Maybe not. Like, all 3 of the lands here are very good at different things. I maybe will just bin that. Alright. Let's play some stuff. And then we Stoneforge. I think this is just the Cauldron. Like, I just put my opponent to, like, the Fury test immediately. And if they pass the Fury test, I start looking at Urza Saga as plan B. Alright, is this just like a dead gone? It is a dead gone. Punished for not choosing Hammer earlier. But I think in no world was I supposed to choose Hammer at that time. I have respectively sized Urza Saga tokens and the ability to top deck towards good things. And Urza Saga currently represents a hammer in 2 turns. Not great versus a Blood Moon, not dead to a Blood Moon. Like, I'll still have white, but losing the Urza Saga is a lot. Sure. I don't know how I feel about that unless this next card is Broadside. Yep, okay. In which case, that's perfectly reasonable. Yep. Yeah, you ever just feel like you're playing a deck that just has, like, been invalidated by a single card becoming popular? That's where I am currently at. Do I play second Urza Saga immediately? No, I think I am extracting my value. It's like with Broadside around, I think I just need to respect the fact that I might end up losing an awful lot of bodies to stuff getting flinged. Especially if something like a Goblin Rabblemaster comes down this turn. Yep. That's a token my opponent can chalice as well. We're just working towards more stable mana. What's his pause? What does his pause mean? Okay. They're just gonna throw... No? I don't understand. You didn't attack. That ability is not on. You now can't fling something at this to kill it. I guess it would... Sorry, it would have been a 3/3. That doesn't kill it anyway. I don't know. I'm trying to understand the not attacking here. You're just going to think for a second before I click on Colossus Hammer, because Shadow Spear is a reasonable card. I think it's just the hammer, though. Like, it's very hard to get rid of a creature with this much toughness. Outside of some meltdown type card. Send them. That'll do. Alright. That was something I didn't have the read on. That I could have had the read on.
A Puresteel Paladin to turn the hammer back on would now be cool.
Yeah. But Spirit Guide plus Dead Gone was just not registering. That's fine. I'm going to take 4 damage here, which I imagine is actually 6 damage. I just don't get the luxury of blocking. I'm kind of in trouble. Opponent chose not to fling anything. So this enters tapped. Am I holding back? I have 2 5/5s defensively. I think I'm holding back. I just don't think I am the beatdown right now in terms of rolls. So this transforms. This is now going to be flingable again. That is just a nightmare versus this thing. Alright. I could double block Broadside and just make it so that my opponent can't copy that. I think I like that. And the way this probably works is I probably trade Broadside and Reflection of Kiki-Jiki for 1 token. And that's okay, as long as one of my opponent's last 2 cards isn't Fury. Okay, this is going as expected. Now I take 2. I still have a 4/4, which will be a 5/5, which can be even bigger. What's the follow-up play? Okay, Shatter Skull Smashing is similar to Fury. This feels slightly more beatable. Puresteel Paladin. Fuck yeah. So I will make my construct. I think we still get a Colossus Hammer. And get that equipped. Then we Puresteel Paladin. And we get that equipped. No haste, so we can't attack. But now I have 2 giant bodies that have, like, difficult to remove toughness levels for a red deck. Alright. Opponent says 1 turn late, GG's. 1 turn late indeed. So we do put 1 win on the board with this deck. All right, so let's debrief here. So, I guess first, kind of just looking at the deck generically, my deck didn't do a lot of stuff today. I feel like I lost to some relatively weak decks and some players who maybe didn't know the format particularly well and like who were, near timing out and were actively missing things that were at least somewhat obvious. So that maybe doesn't give me the best feeling for the positioning of this deck. We were slightly worse against Blood Moon than we would normally be with the mana base that I played today, but I don't really know that the mana was the defining factor in this league. Like, I was certainly worse versus Blood Moon, but like, Blood Moon shutting off the Urza sagas is probably the most, like, single most important thing here. Conceptually, like Legolas's quick reflexes was in here for like the slow blue matchups, like the 4-color beans and stuff, where like on our combo attempt turn in the mid game, like maybe even the second combo attempt, we just get to say like no with certainty. And then we didn't play against a lot of that sort of stuff. We just like lined up against Ancient Tombs, where I'm not sure if I'm supposed to bring this in versus Broadside because that card is just absolutely obliterating me. I feel like I want Caldra in game 1 for the ability to pivot. I don't know that I like Steel Shaper's Gift. Like, I get that you need hammers, but like with 4 hammers and Stoneforge and Urza Saga, that feels enough to me because like the Sigarda's aid is often the limiting factor. Like, this is the thing that I often wanted more of. I don't know how I feel about boarding out Puresteel Paladin. The Retrofitter Foundry Plan B was okay. Some of the times where we tried to go in on it, we just got by Pithing Needle. So I think to some extent we had some bad variants with pairings today. But I don't know that I give this one a thumbs up. Either as it was built or as it was originally submitted. Like, with the original build, I gain access to Wastelands, but then, like, my white mana is worse. I end up having 5 basic lands, but this had 1, 2, 3 fetches and a plains, so I was only kind of 1 plains down in terms of mana base from what was submitted, kind of. Yeah, I don't know. This one didn't work, and sometimes the deck doesn't work. Sometimes you get bad pairings. Like, I'm not going to say that I played perfectly today, because, like, I definitely missed some stuff. Maybe I could have mulliganed even more aggressively than I already was. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of this. If you want to try it out, deck list is available via moxfield.com in the video description. And if you want to buy any of these cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. Use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. And we'll give Legolas's Quick Reflexes another try in another deck next week. All right. Have a great rest of the day. See ya.